Well, it's great to be back for another DC Capstone Report podcast. Today on the podcast, we're going to review last week's game against Ole Miss in the first segment. In the second segment, we're going to come back with our offensive and defensive players of the game and how they affected the game against Ole Miss. In our third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Texas A&M Aggies. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on Tide 102.9, The Morning Blitz with Martin Houston. You can listen live at Tide1029.com. Well, Lance, it's another great game for our offensive positions against the Ole Miss Rebels. We had a great game plan. It looked like going into the game, and just a thorough defeat there for Ole Miss on their home field. It didn't like any home field advantage. The fans were quickly out of the game. They got up on us 7-0 on a long pass. It looked like a missed assignment. I think everyone agrees that a missed assignment on that play caused the safety not to be back, and the DJ Metcalf did a great job of beating the corner off the line, and the quarterback for Ole Miss threw a great pass. But that was short-lived. Ole Miss was fired up. The fans were all riled up for being up 7-0. But it didn't take a few seconds for the Alabama offense to come back down the field and score to tie the game at 7-7. And at that point, they never looked back. And the offense had a good game plan all along to go and beat and to finally defeat the Rebels 62-7. Now, I just want to go over for our listeners out there and kind of talk a little bit about the offense and the game plan and the offensive strategy for the game against Ole Miss. And it has been actually for the first three games of the season. The first statistic that kind of jumps off the page is this is the first time that I can ever remember an Alabama team opening up a year, 3 straight games of scoring 50 points or more. I think that's a record in the SEC that hadn't been matched for a long time. And I think you have to go back all the way to 1945, the year that Alabama won the Rose Bowl, and to have 3 consecutive games where Alabama scored over 50 points. So this offensive production is like nothing we've ever seen under a Nick Saban team. You know, the Nick Saban teams have always been known for the defense, and this team is no different. It has its great defensive team as well. But the offense has really, really come up. And I know a lot of people, everyone out there in the Alabama fans, they give Tua a lot of credit, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But this team is made up of a lot more players than just Tua Tagovailoa. Now, he makes it run and does a great job of it, and I'll talk more about him later. But I want to first talk about this offense and how it schemed against Ole Miss. Hopefully some of the fans watching some of the plays and saw what was going on. But our passing schemes in this game was really, really top-notch. And I think you got to look at the head guy there, Mike Locksley. Mike Locksley, the head of the offense. He is the head of the offensive game plan. He had the game planning for this game. He, along with Dan Enos and Josh Gaddis, I think we got to give Josh Gaddis a lot of credit as well, worked well with our quarterbacks and our receivers, not only our wide receivers, our tight ends, our running backs got into the passing game, and I thought it was really well played. I believe Ole Miss showed in some film, I mean, looking at them on film on defensively, that they did not have as great defense they've had in the past, and Alabama really exploited this Ole Miss defense. I don't think there was any way that the cornerbacks could keep up with our wide receivers, and Jerry Jeudy showed that on that pass play. Once he cleared the cornerback, he put his hand up to let Tua know that he was open and would continue to be open, because the safety just could not keep up with Jerry Jeudy. A safety on any of our wide receivers is just a mismatch in speed-wise. So he was able to beat the safety to the corner and score on a long touchdown pass. Of course, Tua put it right on the money, as he often does. And that was a third down play for our listeners out there. Remember, that was a third down play where Ole Miss was bringing the heat. So when you talk about Ole Miss bringing the heat, bringing the pressure up the middle, you got to go back and give props for our offensive line. Our offensive line played really well in this game. Now, I've been saying now for about 3 podcasts, Lance, and I know you and I have discussed it, and that is that the offensive line needed time to gel. Well, I think that they really came together in this game against Ole Miss. It's a great time to have an on-the-road SEC opponent to be able to test yourself and see how good you really are. And I said last week that we'd learn a little bit about Alabama and how good they were. And Alabama came out and proved everything that everyone's talked about in the off season about how they had improved offensively. They showed it on the field against Ole Miss. The passing game and working off the line and the footwork was tremendous in our wide receivers. Now that has to be given credit to Josh Gaddis. I think Josh Gaddis, that young wide receivers coach and co-offensive coordinator who came in out of Penn State, he really has put his mark on these wide receivers with their footwork, their hand placement. Everything was just spot on in this time. So I just was really impressed with their footwork. And that footwork coming off the line of scrimmage is what got them open most of the time. And there were some great passing plays. Tua distributed the ball really well, got it out to our tight ends, got it out to all the receivers, caught a pass, touched the ball. Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs III, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, Irv Smith, and then out of the backfield, Josh Jacobs and Damian Harris all caught passes in this game, and all was a part of the passing scheme. Now, the offensive line really blocked well. I think Tua got pressured a couple of times, and Ole Miss has some players that can play and rush. Has some athletes that can rush the quarterback, but our offensive line really picked them up well. So I really give props to our offensive line in this game. Thought they did a great job. But overall on offense, you've got to give credit to Mike Locksley and his play calling. I see now why the players loved him so much and really called for him to get the offensive coordinator job. He is a player's coach. He calls them wonderful plays, puts you in the right position to make big plays. And Coach Saban said last year we need to make more explosive plays. Well, I think 3 games into this year, Lance, I believe Coach Saban is pleased with the offensive output that Mike Locksley has brought to this team. And so I look forward to what they're going to do in the future. But offensively, I thought we had a great game against Ole Miss from start to finish. A passing game, running game, we run for over 200 yards. We score 62 points. And then basically just doing such a good job to put them in the right positions to make plays. And I'm so pleased with the offensive production in this game. Well, going over the defensive side of the ball, it's easy to concentrate on the offense and easy to, when you're reviewing a game, to just look at the offense when you score 62 points like that. But, Ole Miss had a prolific scoring offense heading into this game, and Jordan Ta'amu is no joke at quarterback. He knows how to play, does a good job. He and Tua Tagovailoa are good friends. Their parents are good friends. I think Tua's dad, just for a little tidbit for our listeners out there, Tua's dad actually helped coach Jordan and Tua when they were coming up in the ranks. And who would have thought, coming from Hawaii, all the way to the Southeast, one playing for Ole Miss, one playing for Alabama, and competing in the 3rd game of the year against each other. Who would have thought those 2 young men would have made that trek in their lifetime coming to that? But Jordan Ta'amu is no joke at offense. He had an offensive production in the first 2 games. And there was a lot of pundits out there, a lot of media talking heads thought that Ole Miss was going to score some points. So I have to give credit to our defense. Our defense played superb all day long, and it starts up front. And I believe in this game defensively, Quinion Williams had a good game. I think that he did a good job in this game of controlling the line of scrimmage. He was going against a center for Ole Miss that had really good skill level, was a senior, and had really played well. And Quinion Williams just really, really, really dominated him all game long, which gave our edge rushers an opportunity for some plays. And Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings, Jamie Mosley, they stepped up to the task and had some sacks in this game, put some pressure on Ta'amu. But that first play where he beat a wide receiver, beat our cornerback, and the safety was not there to help, there was not really any offensive production the rest of the day. Our defense shut them down. Now, one of the things that Coach Saban did, I don't know if our listeners out there saw it in this game, but Savion Smith was covering Metcalf there wide out at corner. And after that first play where he got beat, he switched and put the freshman Patrick Surtain Jr. in. And Patrick Surtain played a great game the rest of the game, able to control the wide receivers and get in good position to defend some pass plays. But I think one of the cornerbacks that did a great game was Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs had a couple of plays where he used his speed and his range and his long arms to to really go down the field and tip the ball away at just the right time. And I think it's if you're going to talk about cornerbacks in this game, you have to give Trayvon Diggs a heads up because he did such a great job defensively. Our linebackers played well. I've already talked about our outside linebackers, but our middle linebackers in Mac Wilson and Dylan Moses did a good job. So overall, defensively, we did well. Our young defensive backs held up well under this. Xavier McKinney had a pick six, brought it back for a touchdown. He was watching the quarterback's eyes the whole time, knew where he was going with the ball, and as soon as he threw it, made a move on the ball and picked it off, ran it right into the end zone. Deontay Thompson, another great game, and so the defense overall played exceptionally well in this game, and I like to credit them. We see the score 62-7. We scored a lot of points. Offense was great, but give defense credit. They stopped a prolific offense in Ole Miss. So a review of this game, it outdid the prediction I had. I had lesser offensive production on the road, and this team just outdid what I thought they would do. And the defense did better than I thought they would. So overall, it was a great win for the University of Alabama and a great first game in the SEC on the road under your belt to have a victory against the Ole Miss Rebels.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePitchers.com.
Well, in our second segment, Lance, I'd like to talk about some standout players of the game on offense and defense for Alabama in our past game here against Ole Miss. And, starting with the offense first, I guess we're going to have to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Had a great game, another great game. Only played a half in this game in the first half, toward the last of the first half, dealing with a great heat and really some, sweltering heat there at Oxford on the field. And he had little cramping issues, but he could have played, but didn't need to. He scored or engineered a great first half and did such a great job. Didn't have to play in the second half. So just that first half production did so well in hitting his receivers, hitting his open receivers. Read the progressions well when his receivers recovered, went to the right man that was open. On third downs, again, 100% completion rate on third downs. Just did an exceptional job in this game. So. Overall, I think he is one of the offensive standouts of the game. Another offensive standout in this game has to be Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is on pace to have one of the best seasons for a wide receiver. And you're talking, and that's a pretty big statement there from me. When you're talking about the likes of Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, and Calvin Ridley coming ahead of him. But he has a chance to be one of the most prolific receivers in the history of Alabama, have a season beyond anybody's ever imagination based on the offensive production he's ever been put up in the first three games. So I give Jerry Jeudy a nod as my standout player on offense. His awareness coming off when he beat his man off on that first touchdown pass, when you see he beats his man off the field, go back and our listeners out there, go back and watch that play. He beat his man off the line of scrimmage and immediately put his hand up, signaling to the quarterback that, hey, I'm open and I got my man beat. Now that's confidence. It's a great route running, and he did a great job running that all the way into the end zone, outrun the safety all the way to the end zone. He made some other great plays in that game, so I tap him as one of the offensive standouts. Another offensive standout doesn't get much credit, but he's on the offensive line. That's Jedrick Wills, number 74. He's played his way into a starting position here, and had Alex Leatherwood, who was a great tackle as well, move to guard. So you get two of the best players on your team on the field at the same time on the line. And he and Alex Leatherwood playing together on that right side has been impressive. You put him with Pierce Baker at center, Leatherwood at guard, and Jedrick Wills at your right tackle. He has been impressive. And I think it's been really, really good seeing him grow and mature. But coming in a true sophomore, just like Leatherwood, had a little bit of experience as a freshman, but if you watch some of the blocks, he manhandled the player in front of him on the defensive line for Ole Miss. And on the touchdown run that Damian Harris ran, Damian Harris was untouched because you watch number 74, Jedrick Wills, he clears that whole right side of the defensive line for Ole Miss and just shoves them into the center of the field, and Damian Harris is untouched in the end zone. His run blocking was great. His pass blocking was great. I think he will grade out really well in this game. So Jedrick Wills did a great job. So on offense, my standout players for the game are Tua Tagovailoa, Jerry Jeudy, and Jedrick Wills. Now on defense, I thought Alabama's defense stepped up in this game and played a great game against what many people call a prolific Ole Miss offense. And in the first two games, it scored in the 50s and 60s against other opponents. So I thought Alabama's defense was going to be in for a long day, especially after that long touchdown pass that was thrown on us in the first play. But the defense settled down. That young defensive backfield settled down, began to play well. We got a good push up the middle on the defense. And my first defensive standout is on the defensive line. I know I've called his name before, but Quinnen Williams is probably playing one of the best out of the first three games, one of the best defensive linemen. And who would have thought that Quinnen Williams would be the one that would be doing the best on the defensive line? But he has done great. Now, nothing against Isaiah Buggs and Raekwon Davis. They're great as well. But Quinnen Williams has been exceptional. He has manhandled the center in this Ole Miss team, which is no slouch. The center is a great center. He's got a great plays great games, and he's had some great games in the past for Ole Miss. But Quinnen Williams did a great job. So he's one of my standout players defensively, giving a great push up the middle of that defensive line. My second standout player on defense has to be Trayvon Diggs. The cornerback for Alabama, number 7, Trayvon Diggs, did such a great job in this game. He covered his man, even when it looked like the receiver had a step on him. He was able to use his speed and his long arms and reach, his length to knock the ball away. So I thought he had some great plays in this game that really thwarted the Ole Miss passing attack. They gave up going downfield passing deep balls because Trayvon Diggs knocked so many of them away. So I think he has got to be my second standout player on defense. My third standout player on defense should be of no surprise to everyone that watched this game, and that's Deontay Thompson, the safety from Alabama, number 14, that has the most experience. If you call it that, three extra games experience over everybody else. Coming in this season, he was going to be relied on a lot, and he has done nothing to disappoint. Deontay Thompson played great in this game. He has got some length, he's got some speed, he's got some range. And when it looks like the player's open in the middle, he has got ball hawking skills and just hones in on that ball and intercepts the ball or knocks the ball away. So Deontay Thompson is a big asset on that back end safety for the Alabama defense. So there you go. My defensive players of the game are Quinnen Williams on the defensive line, Trayvon Diggs at cornerback, and Deontay Thompson, who's doing a great job at the free safety position. Well, to answer our final segment today, we're going to preview the upcoming game against Texas A&M. It looks like Jimbo Fisher will be bringing the Texas A&M Aggies undefeated into Bryant-Denny Stadium. Kickoff is set for 2:30 Saturday, and they're looking forward to playing Alabama on a national stage, the 2:30 game on CBS. And Texas A&M would love nothing better than to come in here and spoil Alabama's 3-0 season and wreck our chances at a national championship. And I know that Jimbo Fisher, who is coached with Nick Saban, is going to do everything he can to beat Nick Saban. I've seen some of the quotes already coming out. They feel like they can play with anybody. They feel like they should have beat Clemson, so they feel like they can beat Alabama on their home field. Well, it's going to be a task, a surmountable task for the Texas A&M to come in here and beat Alabama at home. Alabama hasn't been beat at home here since Ole Miss did it, and it's been a consecutive wins here in the Bryant-Denny Stadium with the raucous crowd. I think Alabama is going to have the advantage. When you preview this game and look at it, I believe Texas A&M brings as good an offense as Ole Miss had into Bryant-Denny Stadium and a much better defense. That defense that Texas A&M showed against Clemson was a ball-hawking defense, a very aggressive, hard-hitting defense. I think they'll show that same style against Alabama when they come in here. On offense, they run a similar scheme as they run. Jimbo Fisher's run at other places that with a quarterback. Kelly Mond does a great job of passing. He is great with his legs. He extends plays on third downs. So Alabama is going to have a hard task in containing their quarterback. And they had the game they played us last year, they played us well. And so I look for them to come in and give us a game. I look for them to come in and believing they can win. Alabama, in order to win this game, there's several things that's going to happen. Number one is Alabama is going to have to not have penalties and not have turnovers. If we can keep our turnovers at minimum and penalties at a minimum, it'll give us a leg up in this game, because I do believe our defense is better than Texas A&M's offense. I give us the credit, give us the edge there, and I believe our offense is better than Texas A&M's defense. Now, they will give us a better showing than Ole Miss, but I do believe that our offense is going to be better. Well, a couple of things to watch in this game. Our listeners out there can pay close attention to a couple of things. When they have the ball, watch the defensive play of our line against their offensive line. They have a really good offensive line. But one thing I've heard this week is their center is coming off an injury, and he may play or he may not play. If he plays, he may not be 100%. And Quinion Williams going up against their center with either a backup or a starting center that's not 100%, that gives Alabama a stark advantage on the defensive line. If we can get that push, if we can get a push against Kelly Mond up the middle to contain their running backs and contain their quarterback, then I believe our outside backers like Anthony Jennings and Christian Miller will have a field day in rushing the quarterback. So I really believe that Quinion Williams is going to be the difference maker in this game on defense. When Kelly Mond does get to throw the ball, our young defensive backs are going to have to be on their man, and of course Deontay Thompson is going to be patrolling that middle of the field. I think he and Xavier McKinney as safeties will have opportunities to pick off some of Kelly Mond's passes. Look for us to have a couple of turnovers in the passing game this time for our defensive backs. When we had the ball on offense, Clemson, I think, had some success throwing the ball against them, and I believe we'll have success doing that. And they had some success running the ball against Texas A&M, especially late in the second quarter. I believe it's going to be a hot day. I believe Alabama's fourth quarter program is going to give them the edge, and I believe you're going to see Alabama do well. I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to have a good game. He'll be able to throw deep a couple times in this game for some big plays to either Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs III. And I think we're going to see a really high-scoring game this time. It may be that Alabama gets to continue its offensive output in this game, because I really believe with the raucous crowd of Bryant-Denny and with the home field advantage that Alabama goes into this game and beats Texas A&M. My prediction of this game is we score 50 points for a fourth game. I'm looking for Alabama to win this game 54-17.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. Be sure to go online and check us out on DCCapstoneReport.com for future updates.